Hey, greetings all. This is Malik Asad Jafar, and today we're going to be going over experience versus technique. Let's get into it.
I'm the best, so do not test the top of my profession, the master of my chosen field, of that there is no question.
So, this topic today is more about I want to say a story, if you will. My interpretation of certain things, in the specific of the topic was experience versus technique. And let me just give you a couple of different things that I have recognized in my life and things that I think might assist in dealing with certain dynamics when a person is in conflict with the balance between experience and technique. You ever heard of that phrase called, well, not a phrase, but it's a phrase, but the phrase is, glass half empty, glass half full. That concept basically derives from it's designed to promote optimism. Okay. And so, you're looking at the glass half empty. And I think, I used to run with that phrase. And at certain times, I think you can utilize that technique. Okay? But I would say that the most important thing to remember when dealing with the glass half empty or glass half full is, and you've heard me say it before in probably one of my videos, what are you drinking? That dictates a whole lot. If you're in a position to where you have a glass half empty or half full of orange juice, your perspective on the half empty, half full could be managed, if you will. If it is of apple juice, glass half empty, half full, the perspective or the promotion of optimism can be utilized, if you will, to change perspective. But let's say, for example, you've got this glass, right? And it is half empty or half full of onion juice. Oh, no. Better yet. Okay, because this is this new thing that's going on now. Half empty or half full of apple cider vinegar. And one time before, I had to use apple cider vinegar, trying to do some kind of home remedy in regards to something that was going on with my tooth, apple cider vinegar and clove and all this other different crazy stuff. And it was absolutely horrible to me. It was horrible to me. I was like, shit, I'll just deal with the pain to get, I don't want to taste that stuff no more. It was a horrible experience to me. I've seen other people who will drink it. They don't just swish with it, they'll drink it. And so, again, I say apple cider vinegar. Let's say castor oil or cod liver oil. Now, I'm not saying that I will get a full glass of cod liver oil or castor oil and drink it and say, yummy. But I am saying that I don't have a problem with drinking it because I know its effects, I know the benefits and this and that. And so I'm more susceptible to dealing with that I'm more susceptible to taking that than I would a glass of onion juice or apple cider vinegar. So, okay, and that's based on my experience and that what I have gone through. Another statement that originally when I was utilizing it, I was looking at, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious, but biblically, there is a statement about and it's in Proverbs, but it's about the righteous man falling 7 times and he gets up 7 times, but the wicked man will fall into ruin or despair. Man, you could look that phrase up. They elaborate on it in so many different ways. And again, like I said, originally that was what I was utilizing, but I said, no, I don't want to do that because I don't want the philosophical or theological dynamic of religion to debate the concept. I go back to experience. I like to say, if you fall off a horse, you get back on it. You know what I mean? You fall off a horse, you get back on it. Well, I did that 3 times on 3 different occasions in a very short period of time. I was like, ain't no way no horse is gonna beat me. I'm man. You know what I mean? And every single time, I'm not scared of horses. I'm not scared of horses. I'm not really scared of too many animals. I don't like spiders. But got on a horse, first time, threw me off, almost hit my head on a porcelain on a tub. Okay? And the horse was bucking. Everybody else was riding on the horse just fine. I wasn't arrogant or overconfident. I was just like, this looks like fun. Everybody's on a horse, and I'm being cool about it. I'm maintaining myself like, yeah, I'm going to get on and learn how everybody else is doing it. Didn't work well the first time. Didn't work well the second time, which was like 2 weeks later, and I was still not tripping because this was my friend's horse. And he threw me off too. Legs weren't squeezed too tight. It wasn't pulling on the rein. I didn't do anything. I just sat on there, and the horse just kind of said, you know what, you need to get off. Whoop. And he bucked. And speaking of which, the last time that I got on a horse, I held on. What I did not know was that the horse was not as tame. He wasn't wild, but they found him or whatever the case was, and he wasn't real happy with people. But some people were riding on him, and I was just like, you know what, if they doing it, I'm going to do it too, and I got to get back on this horse. Well, I got on it, and he jumped in the air as high as I've ever really been, I think. I mean, I don't remember it felt like I was on top of a building. And then he landed, and then once he landed, he reared up and then was getting ready to jump again, and I flew off and hit the ground and dust flew up. Very painful. That concept or that technique about getting back on a horse when you get knocked off, in my opinion, it is subjective to someone's experience. I ain't getting on no more horses. I don't hate horses. I like them. I'll pet them. I'll touch them. I'll rub them. Just not getting back on them. It's like we can be cool, but they don't want me riding on them. So, boom. Here's one that I just recently found the other day. It just hit my mind. I saw Charles Barkley playing golf. Now, if you've never seen Charles Barkley play golf, please treat yourself and watch Charles Barkley on the golf course. Now, there are a lot of people out there that have techniques as to what you're supposed to do playing golf. And I think I played golf, okay, before. And I'm not a golf pro, but I will tell you this. I know a lot of people who are proficient out there on the golf course. And they will tell you that Charles Barkley's technique is deplorable. It's hilarious. It's a lot of different things. But for whatever reason it is, do you know if Charles Barkley sucked, do you think he would be out there? And when you watch the video, despite what you see, apparently he is doing something right. If it's for comical, comedic purposes, I don't know. But nevertheless, Charles Barkley is out there on that golf course with the worst technique I've ever seen, driving that ball. And I mean, my technique is not as bad as his, but I do look like I'm lining up to throw a discus. It's not a Happy Gilmore swing, but I get in there. And last thing I want to throw out here is this. Growing up, and this is the story about my dad. Growing up, there were certain movies that I didn't like. I didn't like Clash of the Titans. Medusa scared me, with the snakes and all this different stuff, and until I learned. But I'm little, and one day I thought the devil was in my closet and couldn't nobody tell me anything different. I was like, there's some shit in my closet and I need some help. And I was screaming, hey, help me. And so my dad came in there and he was like, what are you screaming about? I said, Dad, the devil's in my closet. He said, ain't no devil in your closet. And, my dad was, talking to me. He was trying to explain, hey, by the way, there is a technique that is used nowadays, or you can Google it, and there's a technique that's used nowadays about how to address the monster under the bed for kids. But, I'm just saying, technique. That happened, and I went to sleep. A couple of nights later, if not the next night, same difference. I'm screaming, and my dad at the time, when the work that he was doing, he was up. And so when he was home, for me to be disturbing him at night to get up about a monster in my closet was like affecting everything. So, he came in there again, and he, what I tell you, blah, 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 no monster in there. And if there's a monster in there, I'm going to make sure that he ain't going to be happy. So you ain't got to worry about that. I'm like, Dad, can I come in the room with y'all? Nah. But, but ain't no monster in there. And he showed me, and I went back to sleep. Well, a couple of nights later, same difference, same issue, monster in my closet. I'm screaming, nobody came. So as a child, what I did to resolve this issue was that I tore the closet up. And, when I say tore it up, I tore up the coat hangers. I tore up what I thought was in there, making me think that the devil was in my closet. And so I demolished it. I mean, for 5 years old, I did a pretty good job at tearing the closet up. And I broke stuff. But I was like, ain't no monster in my closet, And so, interesting. What if I'm like, what if that would have happened the first time? Nevertheless, I got whooped. I got disciplined. This is 80 whatever, this is in the 80s, late 70s, and I tore up a closet. My dad's working hard to get stuff, and last thing he wants is me to tear up the closet. So I got what I had coming to me, I believe, but I never tore that closet up again. And I don't necessarily think it was so much because of the whooping, but I think it was because of my actual experience with dealing with that supposed devil in the closet. So with that said, I have given several different examples of techniques that take place that can be utilized to execute a goal more efficiently. And I've talked about experience. And it is my firm belief that you have to identify with who this person is or what type of person you're dealing with, because there are some people who are more analytical, and they appreciate, respect, and will wholeheartedly deal with the technique, and they will utilize that. But then you have some people who have been exposed to certain things in life, they have experience, and then you have people who have technical advice that they want to give them, and based on their experience, regardless whether that person knows it or not, based on their experience, they have a hard time adjusting to a technique. Okay? So when I say experience versus technique, this is not an either or type of thing. It's more like a balance. I think that in life sometimes you have situations where you're working with stuff and they have a technique as to how you're supposed to execute stuff in files or actions, or or demolishing a house, or just you name it, or janitorial work, or processing paperwork, or police, or whatever your job is. No one is born knowing how. Most are not born knowing how to execute or operate in a certain way that's efficient. So you learn the technique. Your job is to figure out what your skill set is, where your strengths lie. Your job is to identify with that person and find out what their skill sets are, what their strengths are, what they can actually identify with. Okay? And so that is my take on experience versus technique. All right, everybody. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and it's really philosophical, you know, and it helps you to sit down and be introspective on your position on life or about things that you've got going on, and preferably think about these things and process these things before a situation takes place. I mean, not awfulizing things, but I'm just like analyze and figure out how to solve problems and what you cater to the most. It's unfortunate you bump your head a couple of times, whatever the case is, to get it. But I'm an experience-based person, but I'm also consistent. I consistently like to do certain things. I don't want to say ritualistic, but I operate in patterns, and so I will do these things that work based on my experience. I do have a hard time accepting technique, but if you could break down the logistics for me, I can definitely take that and put that in my toolbox of skill set and start to have great experiences and be able to promote that technique as well. Just like I like to promote REBT. That is my saving grace. That is the thing that I go to that helps with everything, you know. I am biased, you know. I'm not so much into, even though it's a part of CBT, but nevertheless, yeah, I'm an REBT fanatic, and I actually utilize that in my life. But I didn't know this. It was just that based on my life experiences, when I heard this technique, that technique made me understand why I was having the experiences I was having, and I practically applied in my life. So I digress, because this could turn into a whole nother video. But yes, be mindful about the difference in skill set of experience versus a technique. Okay? And to each his own, you know, because, you know, there's some people who've got experiences that they want to explain to you, but if you don't have your own experience and based on what's going on, I have a hard time accepting something from someone else based on their own experience, because they don't feel like I do or think like I do. So if you're telling me what I need to do, or if you're giving advice to someone or counseling someone in regards to your own experience, be careful, because you might be with someone who is experience-based and it could be falling on deaf ears. Instead, talk about the technique first, or a technique of sorts. Then relate your experience to it, so they can have that aha, that eureka moment. Okay? But again, like I said, I will shut up because this will turn into a whole nother video. But I hope you enjoyed it on this wonderful day out here. Y'all, be blessed, stay safe, and I will see you next time. Peace. Bam.
I'm the best, so do not test the top of my profession. The master of my chosen field, of that there is no question.